Welcome to the Save Childhood podcast with Jennifer McCarville. Because childhood has changed, but children have not.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Save Childhood podcast.
I'm Jennifer McCarville.
And I'm Nicole Dugan, and today we're going to be talking about calendar time. Is it appropriate?
No.
So we're talking about calendar time specifically in preschool and kindergarten, and if it's appropriate, but let's start by defining it. What does it traditionally look like in these early childhood classrooms that are doing this?
Right. And I think it's a real important topic right now because when we're recording this, it's just about time for school to start.
Right.
And teachers are setting up their classrooms and homeschool parents are setting things up. And then a lot of that comes home and you feel like calendar concepts are something that they should know, maybe. There's just so much that when I was in college, we were taught that the calendar was a huge part of the preschool classroom.
Right. Me too. I was taught how to do calendar time in the way that it's still being done. So,
and there's so much you can do with the calendar. That's what, they get you so that you have the children there for an exorbitant amount of time because you can learn everything through the calendar. And so, they sell all the pieces and they're patterned and colorful and seasonal and
it's repetitious. It's the same thing every day.
Yeah.
Really hitting those concepts.
Driving that information home.
Yeah.
Like make sure that you just pound it into them.
Right.
So
by the end of the year, most of them will be able to regurgitate.
The smart ones. I'm kidding. No. Yes, most of them will be able to regurgitate.
But that doesn't mean they really understand it.
Which is the big difference in a developmental education, an education that honors development and understands how children's brains work, is we want to encourage everyone to understand how vitally important it is that the goal is that learning stick and be real, not that they're simply regurgitating information.
Right. And the kind of information that they're going over is what is today? What is tomorrow? What is yesterday? How many days? Let's count the days.
Yeah. And then you sing a song. There are 7 days. There are 7 days.
Yeah.
And then you wait for them to fill it in and you just Sunday, Monday.
Right.
So it's a whole big deal. And you know what? There is something to those songs and that rote memorization in the role it can play. For example, learning to sing the alphabet. Learning to sing there 7 days in the week isn't inherently a bad thing. It's actually kind of a fun little, you can sing that with them and they can remember the order through that. It's like whatever you had that helped you remember the order of the planets, but the difference is this being the end all be all, the tool to teach young children, and what a big misstep that is.
Right.
So that's what we're going to try to blow that out of the water today.
Right. And I mean, back when we were learning it, they told us that it would teach, sequence and patterning and basic math understanding. But really all of that can be done in a very different, more meaningful way.
A way that really engages them, because what we do know too is that a lot of those children are checked out.
Right.
They're sitting there and they're using all of their effort to sit still and to listen to this very irrelevant information.
Because it's so abstract to them.
So abstract. So, it's learning to count and learning, patterning. Those things can be done and should be done in really hands-on experience-based ways. It's just, you can get children to regurgitate information, but we want that real deep understanding.
Right. And one problem with calendar time that I saw as an educator when I was doing that is the same kids answer every time.
Every time.
Because those are the ones that
they've memorized the information.
Right. And they're maybe able to sit for longer and be bored.
Right.
Yeah.
And by be bored, we mean that, and you'll hear us say this again and again because it's so important to know and it's so applicable in so many situations with young children, especially, with young children, is that around the age of 6, ish, 6 to 7, the brain develops a tolerance for boredom.
Right.
And that's what we mean when we say they're bored. And that simply means not that everything we're teaching them is boring or that their learning is boring. It's that they can learn things better that they don't choose. That maybe, that's beginning to develop that ability to share things with them and give them information that maybe they wouldn't have chosen. But because they have that developing, emerging tolerance for boredom in their brain development, they're able to start doing that, which again is why the appropriate age for formal instruction begins between 7 and 8 years old. And that's one of the reasons. But definitely prior to then, the emotional attachment and the physical interaction with the learning is absolutely 1000% vitally important
Right.
and can't be replaced with anything.
Right. And because those concepts are so abstract and young children, talk to us about why they're not developmentally ready to grasp those concepts yet.
Well,
Days of the week, months.
right. Well, the most important thing is it's just too abstract. Children live in now, right now. So while that information might be interesting to ponder on occasion or etc., but they live in the now. What we need to be focusing on is what's going on around us. So, we definitely can learn other concepts of timekeeping, which ultimately is what the calendar is, right?
Mhm.
It's timekeeping. So there are ways to do that are relevant to children in the now.
Okay.
And having the calendar time is not it at all. So, and we know they'll sit there because children want us to be happy with them. They try so hard to be compliant. And of course, you always have those people who will say, no, they're not trying. Yeah, they really are. They really are. And if they're pushing and resisting and you're not able to help them through that, you need to reevaluate your expectation. And then if it is an appropriate expectation, there's something else that's happened that's put them in those behavior patterns. So yes, they are trying. They want adults to be happy with them.
Right.
And so we want to make sure that we don't misplace that trust, that we don't compromise it,
Right.
in unfair ways. So, but the number one reason is it's too abstract. Children live in the now. That's the most important and relevant learning we can give them.
So, how should we talk about these concepts in a meaningful way with young children?
Well, these concepts are about time passing and rhythms of the year and all of that being the focus. Um, what is helpful for them now to build on later. So we definitely need to start at the beginning, which is, oh, remember the other day it was Monday and it rained outside? You're making a connection to the language for how the days of the week work. And so as you are having these just natural conversations, you point out the language that has to do with the calendar. There are things that we do to teach them the rhythm of the year. We do that with our rituals and our traditions. And when we talk to them about after we have Thanksgiving, then it's going to be Christmas. And then after Christmas, it's going to be really cold. Well, that's how it is here in Texas anyway, not until after Christmas sometimes. And then after that, it's springtime and the flowers start to bloom and the butterflies come out. And that's when your birthday is. And then school ends and it's summertime. So these natural rhythms of our year and those patterns just in conversation and in the now what's happening and then pointing that conversation out. If you want to keep track of time for an event, you do something like you make a paper chain with how many days are left and the children can see how long that is. And every morning at breakfast you take one away and you count, it's this many days till we go to grandma's house now, and you're giving them a concrete in the now experience that's real for them.
Right.
So, and like I said, singing the songs with the language and the things, that's fine too, as long as it's fun and, from time to time, but it's not the ritual every day in the classroom. Many years ago, and I still regret, and I need to research this obviously, but many years ago, I was taught in a lecture I was in about children's brains and their concepts of time that for a 4-year-old to genuinely grasp a calendar concept, it takes 168 hours.
Wow.
168 hours. Now, like I said, I haven't looked this up recently. I haven't, but the reality is it takes an exorbitant number of hours for a 4-year-old to actually absorb one of these concepts that are so abstract. And yet if we just wait until their brains are ready, it doesn't take any time at all.
Right.
And it goes back to, again, we, for whatever reason, are in such a hurry to put this pressure on children to learn things earlier. And all we're doing is missing out for them. We're leaving these huge gaps in the things they should be doing and should be learning.
Yeah, 168 hours spent on something different could be so much more impactful.
I mean, that
Right.
it's not a joke.
But that's probably why they do it every day, because it takes that many hours. But what you're saying is if they just wait until their brains are ready,
Absolutely.
and it's a very fast and easy concept to learn.
And just like anything. I mean, just like anything in development, if we allow them the time and we're giving them the experiences to build up to those concepts, you know, like these things we were talking about, saying, oh, remember the other day when we went to the zoo, that was on Wednesday, and today it's Friday. And, you know, for the young children, it's, you know, 2 more sleeps, and 2 sleeps, it's going to be the day that you go. But expecting them to really grasp that is really unrealistic and a waste of their time.
Now, I will say for the people that are coming to our conference in November and visiting our school, they will see a traditional calendar in our kindergarten classroom.
Yes, you want to talk a little about what
Yes.
that looks like in the classroom for
Yes,
kindergarten?
so there is a calendar in there, but we don't do calendar time. The calendar is in there for reference, to count down to special days, to put children's birthdays on there. But we don't do today is, tomorrow is, yesterday. We just refer to this is the 12th day of September. And then to look at the months, we have the months of the year in a linear timeline, I guess. And then at the end of each month, we put pictures of what the children were involved in that month, just so it connects to their memories and the events that are important to them. Remember in October when we measured those pumpkins? We make sure every child is on that board, and that's how we talk about the months of the year.
And capturing the sequence of time.
Yeah.
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 That everything is in a rhythm. But if you don't use the calendar in the ways that we were taught to use it, how are they ever going to learn to pattern? I think there might be other ways.
I think there are.
So, and much more hands-on and much more engaging ways to learn about that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in a time that isn't, you know, just something that grabs them and they become productive in their experiences and their learning.
Right.
And that's the thing you have to constantly be asking yourself as an educator and as a parent. Is that really the only way they can learn that? Is that the best approach? And we know that anytime children younger than 7 are expected to sit for long periods of time and expected to learn abstract concepts, it's not reasonable.
Right.
So,
And so educators out there who are required to do calendar time, what's our message for them?
bless your heart. I think our message for them is adapt what you can to the biggest degree and don't spend the amount of time on it, because really oftentimes what they'll admit in reflection is that most of that calendar time is spent on redirecting behavior and redirecting behaviors that are so natural and so appropriate. You know, we need you to sit still. We need you to put your hands in your lap. We need you not to, you know, don't talk to each other. You need to focus up here, focus up here, focus up here. All of that tells you the expectation is inappropriate. And, you know, that whole, well, you know, so-and-so sitting so nicely, you're ready to learn. That's humiliating and inappropriate, and really degrading for the children who just developmentally can't do that. So respecting the development and knowing that you just need to get through that and incorporate other ways to truly learn those concepts that they're telling you have to teach through the calendar.
Right.
So, I mean, that's just the reality of what educators have to do. And, you know, praise God for those educators in those environments who are advocating by standing up and being there for those children and finding other ways to supplement and incorporate, and also taking the pressure off of parents. I think that's a huge thing that educators can do and should do, is, you know, just be transparent with the parents, because parents will be the ones who change education for us. So when you say to a parent, you know, yes, she has a hard time sitting through calendar time. Actually, at this age, that's not exactly an appropriate expectation. We need to do it because it's part of the state curriculum, but I'm not concerned about it, and this is why. And that's huge because right there, we're planting the seeds for parents who are going to say, why is the state curriculum requiring us to do things that are so inappropriate for my child? And that's why I say, as we inform parents of what is appropriate for the children, what we're not concerned about because it's not a realistic expectation, we're equipping them to do that work that parents are doing of saying, we need to fix this, you know, and that's, I think, one of the most important things any of us can do. And definitely you educators who are in those situations where you don't have the ability to just say, well, I'm just going to take the calendar out of the classroom, you know? And like you said, having a calendar in the classroom,
Yeah, that's okay.
yeah, that's fine. There's not like there's anything wrong with that. And having one on your refrigerator at home where you have a star on the day that you're going to go, you know, for your play date, and you're counting that many days, or you're, you know, crossing off the days as you pass them. Those things aren't bad at all. In fact, they're probably very helpful in the long term in building a background of knowledge. But hopefully you see the difference in the authentic experiences of, you know, something like that, or a chain that gets smaller, or patterns being made with blocks and recorded as they get older with crayon, you know, clapping out patterns, you know, jump, clap, pat your head. Those are patterns. You know, you can learn these things, and you should, in those interactive ways. But yeah, it's not inherently bad. It seems to be a common misconception, I think, that when we say we don't teach the children to write all the letters of the alphabet in the preschool, and we don't do the calendar in kindergarten, that people automatically assume that we're hiding these things. You know, like, we're not hiding the letters. We're not hiding the calendar.
Right.
We're just not going to expect that. We're going to nurture it in the children who are interested and make it available for a reference,
Right.
you know, and make it part of their world. But we know that focusing on that for any length of time is actually contradictory to the development they need to be experiencing.
Right.
So we're not afraid of the letters. We're
Right.
not afraid of the calendar.
No.
But what we know is way before that, they need the rich oral language. They need a strong sense of rhythm, and they need to be able to observe and think and soak things in.
Right.
And then miraculously, just like learning to walk, all those things come together in their time, and it just starts to click.
Right.
So,
And I'd like to plug a recent podcast of the history of education in America. That episode talks a lot about why we are where we are today in our educational system. So check that one out.
yeah. And of course, it doesn't have all the information. It's a like highlight reel of some important, you know, seasons, chapters in education.
Right.
So, yeah.
So that wraps up today's episode.
Pretty much. I mean, I think we hit all the high and important points about why everyone needs to rethink the calendar time in the preschool and kindergarten classroom, for sure.
Yes.
And again, we would encourage people to have one that you can see. And even as you're planning experiences for your children, you know, you get those special dates from school, and you open up your calendar and you're writing them down, and, you know, you say, well, oh, this helps me keep track of when we're going to do what. And it's called a calendar, and you move on, and you're just planting those seeds. You know, you really honor the rhythm and the now that children need to be existing in, you know. And we know whenever we honor development, the children benefit, and we don't have regrets.
Right.
It's just better to wait and figure it out before you panic and push.
Yes.
So, and that's what's happening so much in education, is the panic and push. Like, they're not doing it right now. They're not doing it right now. So we're going to hammer it in, and we're going to make them regurgitate it. And they're stressed, and they don't believe in themselves as learners, and they don't enjoy it. And, you know, there are always going to be things as they get older, and their brain can really tolerate a lot more boredom. It's like they go through this season of being able to tolerate boredom, where they're learning things that, you know, they may not be interested in. And that doesn't mean they don't find joy in them as they get older. But then they can't wait till they get into college, when, you know, you get to actually study the things that interest you, that you will remember for your life, you know?
Right.
So that's an unfortunate situation we have in those holding patterns, but That's not what today's episode is about.
No.
It's about calendars and why calendar time in preschool and kindergarten is inappropriate and should be replaced with so many more authentic, beautiful experiences for children to actually learn.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's be the change.
Be the change.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Save childhood.
Yes. Okay. So subscribe, like, share this message with other educators and parents who want to do the right thing for children.
And even some that don't.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Most people do. But, just share it like, this is interesting. I've never thought about this. What do you think?
Right.
And I think the important thing is these aren't our opinions. This is the research. This is the science. This is what we've seen in practice. So it's not just I feel like. It's
Right.
This is how children's brains grow and develop, and this is what we should be respecting. So yeah, share it. And just as a wow, let's think about that, because that's how we are continuing to improve our practices for children, is being humble and less egocentric than the children, and being able to consider, maybe what I thought was the best practice isn't, and maybe it is. When it comes to calendars, get them out.
Yep.
Waste of time, waste of wall space.
Right. Also visit us at savechildhood.org.
Yeah, and check out our 14 tenets for saving childhood, and you can find us on all the things, TikTok and
Instagram,
Facebook, Instagram,
and YouTube.
Here we are recording for YouTube also, and Spotify.
Yeah. And find information about our conference that's coming up in November.
In November, yes. You can find that at savechildhood.org as well. And we hope you'll join us. And we'll have some more really important and meaningful conversations about how we can benefit children and truly honor development. And you'll get to see the school and the classrooms and have some real quality, wonderful learning time with other educators.
Yes.
It's a great time.
It's pretty amazing. All right. Well, thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us today. To learn more and join the movement, go to savechildhood.org.